This is Mommying While Muslim, recorded live and unedited. Watch as Zeba and Uzma record their podcast, see their reactions, and find out for yourself what all the buzz is about.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Mommyingwhilemuslim podcast. This is Uzma Jaffrey.
And this is Zeba Hassan, and happy Monday. Is it Monday? I'm like lose track of time nowadays.
Oh, it's definitely a Monday,
right?
considering
It's
how it
definitely
started.
Monday. Okay, so can I just say we're trying to get Uzma on. I'm like, what the heck? This is not like her. Like she's she's like the on top of it lady. And I'm like, did something happen to Rania? Like my heart's beating fast. But then I did tell Joe 2 things would have happened. A family emergency, or this girl is still sleeping. And I'm
She's
glad to
still
say
sleeping.
it was the second and not the first. So I'm glad you
Here I
got your
am.
sleep after Fajr. And I mean, you look beautiful considering you had 5 minutes to get ready, lady.
Yeah, you only need head and shoulders, right? So don't ask what's going on downstairs.
You're like, let's not talk about what's going on below. But yeah, why don't you tell everybody what you're doing and why you're so exhausted, my dear friend?
No, it's just um we're moving, right? So we move on Tuesday, and I'm sitting currently in my walk-in closet that is completely empty. So it's so interesting to go through the house and clean up 12 years of memories. And one of
Aw.
the things that I was cleaning out yesterday was my spice cabinet. Do you have a spice cabinet?
Oh yes, I have a drawer and I clean it out every 3 months.
Okay, see, you're awesome because I have gulab jamun
They
mix. You know that?
expire. Oh no,
Yeah,
get rid of that
apparently.
stuff.
It's from 2008.
Ew, Usman, like you have to get rid of this stuff. No,
Well,
every 3 to 4
some of
months
them I
I do a
kept because
massive
I'm like,
cleanse.
does masala go bad, really, guys? Does it go bad?
I mean, I don't know if it goes bad, but do you want masala like that you bought when you were married, when you were first married? Like honestly, is that
It's
something
kind
you
of a
want to be
memento,
putting?
right? Because back
Yeah,
then I didn't know
no.
how to use it. I had no
Yeah,
business
and
having it.
you're like, "What was going on?" Like, I don't use masala mix at all, I do have to say that, like,
Okay.
I'm just kind of like a go it hurts my stomach, so I just can't do it, not
Oh,
that I'm saying there's anything wrong with it, it just doesn't sit well with me, but yeah,
yeah.
if it's, in the early 2000s, I would have to say it's probably safe to throw away,
Yeah,
maybe.
they're all from before 2010. So I
Oh,
did a
yeah, no,
lot of throwing away,
no.
but I saved some, like the unopened. They're vacuum sealed in those foil packs still. They're
Okay,
like unopened.
I'll take your word for it since you obviously did not wanna throw it away, so I'm
I
glad
think
you were able
expiration
to
dates are a
go through.
suggestion.
Okay. Okay, and I have to say, maybe it's a thing because whenever we go back to my in-laws' house, and I love my
Yeah.
mother-in-law, but we tease her all the time, and my kids are always like, "Daddy John,
Ew.
when was this do you know this is expired?" And they'll say that she says the same as you. "It's just a suggestion. It's not." We're like, "This was from last year when we were here. Why is it
The
still
one
in your fridge?"
the ones I threw away were the ones that didn't have an expiration date because at one point in time, products were coming from India and Pakistan that did not have an expiration date, and then it became illegal. So those I threw away because I was like,
Okay,
dude,
I'm
they're
glad
expired.
you
Must
got
be
rid of
before
the
2000.
illegal contraband, like, I'm very
I did.
thankful that you were doing it. Good. So you were
I did.
unpacking, everybody's healthy. What is going
Alhamdulillah,
on with
everybody's fine.
you this week?
That's it, girl. That's everything. I'm like trying to save my masala collection that somebody who doesn't know how to cook shouldn't even have anyway.
You're like, just,
What's up with you?
when in doubt, toss it out. No, I'm,
Love it.
you know, for me right now, which I think is probably all moms in America right at this very second as every state is coming out with their online learning situation, whether it's the hybrid system or going back to school and trying to make these choices for our families. And, I've always toyed around with doing homeschooling anyway, but like how to tap into that and was able to talk to Kristen Jawad on homeschooling. I
Mhm.
think she's a homeschooling consultant, is what it sounds
Yeah.
like. And she gave us some really good advice and really just spending some time mapping out a system for the kids because the real me, I admit that I'm OCD about certain things and scheduling and all that is something that I really need to have in place or my own anxiety starts to kick in and I don't want that to pass on to the kids. So this week for pretty much it is just going to try to figure out and map out a good strategy for fall for our kids and for our family that works for us. So that's more of what I'm just trying to do a little bit right now in order to keep my own sanity. But I know you don't have to worry about that at all. So, have you guys thought about it, or you're just like we're fully homeschooling all four kiddos come
I mean, I
September?
think everybody has to worry about it whether you homeschool or not, right? Because
Mhm,
then we have to worry about the strain on resources for homeschoolers
mhm,
when and if everybody's doing it. So we have a board meeting, I believe, on Wednesday or Thursday night for our school board, and my husband is very much wanting to go because they're wanting to do the three options with one of them being
mhm.
100% online, and he wants to go find out about the online because
Yeah,
the unschooling has never really sat with him well. He's like you,
that's
he
my
wants
husband. Yeah.
direction and
Yes,
curriculum and goals to
exactly.
meet. And I'm like trying to remind him gently every time, honey, who set those goals? Why are you trying to achieve the white man's goals? Like, stop,
Oh my gosh, girl. Yeah, but I agree with him a little bit, right? Like in
Yes.
having a set guidelines and the ability to add the extension. So like if we're talking about US history, I mean, we're lucky where we live, right? We're the heart of the Civil War. We have all this stuff. So like I
Oh,
can
yeah.
take my kids and like do some extension and do all of that. So like I appreciate that piece of it. But I agree with him. We're probably leaning towards the virtual for that reason. It's a couple hours
Hmm.
a day with the ops as a crutch, and I'm fully owning that it's a crutch with the ability to do extension afterwards. So
See, ours is 8 hours
that's great.
virtual. And I'm like,
Oh, ours would
absolutely
be
not.
2 to 3, yeah, 2 to 3
Mm-mm.
hours virtual for
Yeah.
the especially for the younger kids. My older kids might have some flex learning, but they're more traditional learners anyway and have already decided and committed to the virtual, so separate and apart. They want to do that.
Mm.
This is a big year for my oldest son. He's a rising junior, and we're a little bit apprehensive trying to figure out like everybody talks about how this is the big year, this is the big year, and I'm just kind of like, everybody's going through this. I'm not going to stress myself out about it. And we're going to do the best that we can and hope and pray that it works out. Because the reality of
Inshallah.
the situation is we're literally still in a pandemic and it's getting worse for us here in the US, sadly. And so we're going to
Yes.
do what's best for our family and try to maintain our mental health. But you might hear me crying. I cry every day, anyways. So you might hear me crying for different reasons. And I'm just going to own that and be okay. So
Yes.
what's on our hot topic list for today, Uzma?
Our soapbox for today is I don't know, I'm not an avid Twitter person. So if you are, then you're already aware. I believe it was yesterday that the president tweeted out a white power video. So he's not even hiding it anymore. The fact that he is totally demented or a white supremacist is like out there. Like he's telling you who he is. He is admitting it. He's letting us all know that he thinks they are very fine people. So please, y'all, follow CARE, the Council of American Islamic Relations, and they are currently pursuing the White House and trying to get them to suspend his Twitter account. Because can you imagine like how empowering this is for Nazis overseas? Can you imagine what they're going to do? They've already walked in with assault weapons into Masajid in New Zealand and killed a bunch of Muslims. Like this is going to give them license to do it, not just on our own soil, but to do it on other soils. So our Muslim brothers and sisters across the planet are at risk right now. So follow the work of CARE, donate to them, sign whatever petitions they have to suspend the presidential Twitter account because not only is he giving America a bad name and made us the laughing stock of the world, guys, Europe isn't going to let Americans on European soil for the near and far future. So anybody who wants to go see, history or pretty places, we're already banned over there. Can you imagine what's going to happen after this Twitter account gets read by millions of people and European governments and other governments across the planet? So yeah, be proud of who you are, be proud of being American, and don't let this president piss all over our reputation any more than he already has. I mean, it couldn't have been more blatant. There is an account of a woman in Minnesota, a Muslim woman with a 4-year-old child who was basically stalked by Hell's Angels and skinheads and had to escape. Like the staff at the restaurant she was at, the outdoor restaurant, had to escort her, and eventually police ended up having to escort her to her vehicle because they locked eye contact and, she felt targeted and afraid, and they were basically following her. So she's got photographs posted on the internet if you want to go look that up. I'm not going to give you her name, but you can easily search her. And it is public, so you can see it. But this is the same day that the president tweets out a white supremacist video. So enough with white power. We know that the majority of the world isn't white anyway. Get over it, guys. We're all black. All right. That's my soapbox for today.
I always love your perspective. And I
Do
think we're
you?
wearing the same color. I do. I mean, I will always respect your respect, but I do think we're wearing the same color lipstick today. So I'm really
Are
excited
we?
about that. Is
Mine's
it I
Avon
think Paramount.
because I'm like a
Oh,
60-year-old woman inside.
okay. So yeah, mine's MAC. So that's
Yeah,
probably not the
way
case. But
cooler.
sorry, I just kept saying I liked how pretty your lips looked while you were talking
Thanks.
about white supremacy. But this month, I'm super excited that we're going to be featuring moms with very unique perspectives and point of views. And like, is this our Power Month? Are we kicking off our Power Month,
This is Moms
Uzma, for the
Outside the
month?
Box.
Moms outside the box. Yes, Uzma does all of our stuff, and she always tells me to read the notes ahead of time, and I do not. And I'm one of those bad school people that just kind of wings it as I go along. And thankfully, she puts up with me. So we are talking about moms outside the box and how to support other women that are thinking outside of what the norm is. And I'm super excited because I got a chance to talk to her while Uzma was sleeping after Fajr and get to know Dr. Najwa Javed, who is a board certified foot and ankle surgeon out of California, mom of 2, 10 and 8, and the founder, Beauty and the Brains of Imar, Italy, a high heel that's, are you guys ready for this? Like actually good for you. So thank you so much and welcome, Dr. Javed. We really appreciate you on the show today.
Assalamu alaikum, Najwa.
Assalamualaikum, guys. How are you this morning?
We are so
Good
good. You look
morning.
gorgeous, mashallah.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you guys this morning, and I loved everything that you guys were talking about. Uzma, great job on your soapbox.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thanks. Were you looking up the feed or the video?
I actually was just looking it up, so I apologize about that. I was like, oh, I missed this. Like, I didn't get to read this yesterday. So I was like, typing CNN, Twitter, Trump Twitter post, and all of that stuff. So sorry if you were introducing me. I apologize.
No, that's okay. I appreciate it. If our soapbox can inspire people to get empowered right away, then we did our job. Alhamdulillah. So tell us a little bit about your mom's story and how you came to be a mother and what your mothering philosophy is.
Wow, that's a loaded question to start
That's a
off
huge
with, right?
question, I
But
know.
all right, let's dive right in. So, my mother's story. So, I am a mom of 2 kids, and their ages are 10 and 8. And I guess the most significant part about my story, personally to me, is that my first one was born when I was in residency, which to me, in retrospect, when I think back at it, it was a really tough and difficult time. For anybody, just, in medicine, residency is a very demanding time in your career, and you have to be 100% every day. You have to show up, and I had a very complicated pregnancy, but we had a couple of miscarriages beforehand, and so I really, really wanted this baby, and I was just praying to God that let everything go well. And one of the things that happened is that my residency director, who was a great guy, was like, Najwa, if you take off time more than 6 weeks, you'll have to forfeit your residency. And to me, that was just like, heartbreaking. I was like, I can't forfeit my residency, but I want to have this baby. And so, I went through, alhamdulillah, I had the baby and then took 6 weeks off and went back to, my 60 to 80 hour shift or whatever it was during the second and third year of my residency program. And, it was really tough. It was really hard, but it just got me thinking that, for women who are pursuing like any type of profession, their biological clock and like their professional clock are just never going to meet. And so you just have to do what's right for yourself. And I was able to, and alhamdulillah, like I have a really amazing husband. And even though he was, leading a startup at that time, like he really kind of pulled his weight and he would like help me with the baby. And my second daughter, when she was born, it was also a surprise. We weren't expecting to get pregnant, but I got pregnant when my son was 2. And I had just started my new job. And I was like, I can't believe like I'm just starting this new job and I'm pregnant and my pregnancy is so complicated. But, I again just hustled through it. And, mashallah, now I have 2 beautiful, healthy children, which is all I wanted. And motherhood has been amazing for me. And I was able to, build my practice. I ended up buying out my practice. And then from there, I started to, as my children were getting older and bigger and my responsibilities were getting more and more with them, all of a sudden I had this like desire, I guess you could call it, of designing a shoe line. So that in itself has taken its own journey, as if I didn't have enough on my plate already. But it's been wonderful, and motherhood is just something so beautiful, and I, would love for every woman to experience it if they want it.
Yeah, I love all of that because the work-life balance, I feel like not just if you're in medicine, if you're in any field, yeah, during the pregnancy part, that's like a whole different discussion. But once they're out of your body, now how to balance
That's
everything
right.
because you're in the OR like most days, right? So you're super busy. And I remember like
Mm-hmm.
your mom and I are friends, masjid friends, and she's like, my girl just doesn't take 5 minutes to breathe. She's like Zeba, like that's what it makes me think of when with you guys, you're constantly go, 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 and you never stop. So when I saw you launched a shoe line, I was like, wait a minute, how did
But of
she?
course she
Does she
did.
have like a time stopper or something? Like, how did this happen? Um, so a little bit more maybe
Oh
about work
gosh.
balance and then the birth of your shoe company.
Yeah, so work-life balance, I think it really doesn't exist, to be frankly honest. I mean, like everybody's trying to achieve it, right? But it's like the holy grail. Can you really get it? So you have to
Mm,
do what's right for you, I think, at the end of the day. And you really need to figure out what are your specific needs. So, like in my example, one of the first things is that I'm type A, like I am. Like I have to be in control of everything. It's just something that is inherently a problem, and I
mhm.
have realized it. And I have realized that, if I want to be in like 10 places at one time, like I'm going to have to delegate my tasks out.
Yeah.
And, as a woman who's in control of everything, it's very hard to do that, to accept that, you have limitations and it's okay to ask somebody for help. Like you don't want to do that. You feel like if you ask your in-laws for help or your, mostly in-laws, right? Like your parents are still like, hey, mom and dad, help me out. But like in my case, I really needed help. And the only way that I was able to get it is like, hey, my in-laws, like I really need you guys to step up and help me out. Like, I know you're, for sometimes I feel like the woman, like you want to please so much that it's hard for you to show that you're vulnerable in any way. And so for me, I was like, I need help. You guys have to do the groceries for me. Like, and I had that ability to do so with them. So I asked, right? And then I told my husband, I was like, I want to be able to work. Like, and I really need you to help me out. Like, I really need you to help. And I know that you are really busy in your career, but like my career is just as important too. And so are our children. So like, I need you to help me out. Like, I was constantly asking for help. And I think that that's really different than my parents' generations, where my mom, she would never ask for help. She would just do everything for her 4 kids. And I just saw that it caused her to burn out really quickly. And I just didn't want that. I wanted to be able to have like a healthy work-life balance. And so, anywhere that I could get help, like I did it. And then which is hard, right? Because you don't want to ask for help all the time. The secondary thing is that, if the cushions are not perfectly aligned, the cushions are not perfectly aligned. It's going to be okay. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, like it's okay. Like, I had to really reevaluate like how OCD I was going to be, and I still am, because like I'm in my field of work, like I have to be very, very efficient, and I have to maximize my time, and I don't really sit. But and that's okay with me, as long as I know that if I'm going to start burning out, like I've realized like the things that cause me to do that, and then I have to give myself a lot of biofeedback. So over the years I've like trained myself to like really talk to myself and be like, okay, Najwa, like you're really going 100 miles an hour, you need a break. And then I just take a break. And self-care has become one of my most important things. And self-care to me is not like going to the spa and like getting a facial. Like self-care to me is like stopping, reevaluating where I am and taking a deep breath and like being like, okay, I need a moment to myself. Like I need to go out and go for a hike, or I need to work out. Like, I have to wake up and like I have to take 30 minutes to do like an exercise class so that I can sweat it out and I can readjust my mind. And I've asked for help in that situations. Like I've been like, hey, Fahad, like my husband, I'm like, hey, I really need like a 30-minute break. You handle everything and let me just, take a deep breath and come back. And I think that those types of things, like where communication is like really critical for your life, like not only within your work life, but also within like your, married life and your family life. Those are really important to me. So I've become somebody who asks for help, who seeks help. And when I'm, managing my team at my office, I have a large, I own a medical practice. I have 3 physicians who work for me, and I have a staff of 8 people. So like, I have to manage them. And I tell them, I'm not here to micromanage you. I want you to do your work because we're a team. I want all of us to help each other. So that's actually changed a lot in my office. Like we have very little turnover. Everybody comes in 100% ready to work, because I feel like it's more of like, we're helping each other out versus like I'm your boss and you have to do what I say. And these little realizations has really helped me. Like I try to be as balanced as possible, but there are times it's not going to happen. Like I have to come home from surgery all day, clinic all day. I have EMR meetings. Yeah, there's no balance. And like, I still have to like get my kids like homework done, because now with COVID, like they're at home all the time. And so I still have to get their work done. And like the responsibility does lie within me because I'm their mom, but I will like be like, hey, listen guys, like I need help, like let's pull together, and we just get it done when we get it done. And I don't stress about timelines like that anymore, which has helped me personally.
That's
No,
awesome.
I love that. I love everything you just said. And the reality of the situation, like we were chatting, I'm like, before I even came on this show, I said it was either I get to work out today or I'm going to wash my hair. I chose to work out because I'm like, you guys can't smell my hair anyway. So it worked out really well. Like these are all, I mean, so it's a fallacy, and it's something that has been set, and we have to manage those expectations, right? Like concept of we can do it all and there's balance, and I'm going to come, something is always giving, and allowing ourselves the forgiveness.
Yes.
Some days it's your kids, some days it's your work, some days it's your house is a mess. I have literally dishes in my kitchen right now, which by the way is bothering me as I'm talking right now, but I'm like, I'll get to that later. But there always are days and choices that we have to make in order to get there. So, and to your point, delegation is amazing. I am better off spending time with my kids versus cleaning the toilets. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm going to
Mhm.
choose to have somebody
Yeah.
else do that so I can spend that extra time with my kids. And that is just what I'm going to do. So my question to you is, you're a boss babe, you're running a practice with all these people. Why in the world did you decide during COVID to start a shoe company? Can I just see like the thought process? But that
Oh
having been
my
said, I'm
gosh.
buying these shoes because they're beautiful. Even if I'm wearing them to the
I bought
baseball
a
field,
pair,
just
girl.
nowhere else to go. But what were you thinking? Did it start off with, I see this for my children, for my patients need this, so I'm going to answer some of those, or did you just say, there's nothing like this on the market, and I am going to create something for everybody? What was your thought process?
So, I mean, that's such a wonderful question, right? You guys are totally loaded today, but let me try to explain that this wasn't supposed to happen during a global pandemic. That was not the idea,
Look,
of
I
course,
didn't plan
but
for
that's what
this.
I got left
Relaunching
with.
business this year. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, this was not the idea. But let me just walk you back a little bit. So, as I said, like I'm a full-time physician, but over the years, my practice model had changed quite a bit because I work in Silicon Valley. And as a foot and ankle surgeon, I treat a lot of men and women who are in positions of, we're in where they are in the public eye. So, like, they have foot and ankle issues. People do. Like, it's nothing that, we're all human. We will have a foot and ankle issues regardless of if you're a CEO of a company or like a soccer player or a home mom, right? So, like, the thing is that there's always areas of injury that can happen. And one of the issues that I was happening is that in the world of orthopedics, it's what you're taught is that you have to wear a stability athletic shoe, right? If you have any type of foot pain, plus orthotics. And so that was just like what I had been trained, and I would just recommend that. And the thing is that my patients would come in and be like, that's not going to work for my life. Like, it's just not going to work. Like, I have to be able to get to a meeting, and I just need to be able to wear something. Men and women, by the way, not just women. And they're like, there has to be something on the line. And the thing is that there wasn't a lot. And innovation always is something that happens when there's a necessity for it. So my initial plan was not to do a shoe line. That was never the idea. My idea was just to create an orthotic. An orthotic is just like it's like eyeglasses for your eyes. So your vision changes, so you wear glasses, right? But something sleek, something like that would look good, that would be ultra thin, kind of like how glasses have, evolved, like from the thick, big, chunky glasses to like the really thin lenses that we have now. So the idea was first just to design that. And I had the ability to design something really thin because I just see so many patients. Like over the last 10 years, I think we've made like over 6,000 or 7,000 orthotic pairs of the dress lines, right? So when I first started to do that, it was just great. And people would just take the ultra thin orthotic, and I can show you what they look like. They're like a super thin, like little plate that we would put inside of shoes. And what ended up happening is that my female patients were like, they don't fit in my heels. Like, they fit into my flats, they fit into like lower heels, like kitten heels, but they don't fit in my heels, and I need heels. So I started researching. And women, we know this, like, when we put on a pair of heels, regardless of where we're going, it just makes you feel a certain way. It elicits a response. You feel sexy. You feel beautiful. You want to wear them, out to places, not obviously when you're taking your kids to the grocery store, but like, it makes you feel a certain way. So my female patients were like, Dr. Javed, like, I have 2 kids, and like, when my husband and I go on date night, or like if I go out with my friends, like my feet start to kill me after a little while, and like I'm stuck in flats all the time. So I started to just research heels and their design, and it took about 10 years, and I found that either there was comfort or there was style, like, designer style or comfort. And there was just no intersection of the two. And that was really unbelievable for me, because like in Silicon Valley, right, like we're so innovative, we have so much technology, but there had been no innovation in high heels, especially designer heels, in forever. So I was like, I could probably make a heel, right? Like, how hard could it be? And my girlfriends who are all like, attorneys and physicians and, startup founders, they were like, Najwa, you have to do this. Like, who would be better to do it? And this was about 4 years ago, okay? And so I was like, yeah, like, how hard can it be? So I decided to Google how to make heels. And that's
You're like,
how it really started, like, legitly.
I
Yeah.
love that.
She fell down the rabbit hole.
I know. And I was like, Google how to make heels, and my life has never been the same. Okay, guys, like,
I
dark
love
circles, like all that jazz. But yeah. And so it was just that. And then, sorry, say that again.
I just saw Joe just put up your website. There's a cute with a peephole, and it's a
Raya.
nude.
Yeah,
I am going to
Yes.
be getting those because those are cute.
they're
Oh,
adorable.
you guys are so sweet. So yeah, I named them after my kids. Like the first pair,
Oh,
which is
that's
the Aiden
so
pump, which
cute.
I have in front of
I
me.
didn't
This
know
is the
that. That's
Aiden
awesome.
pump. Yeah. So that's the Aiden pump, and I named that after my son, whose name is Aiden. And then I named my second pump, which is called the Raya, which is a peep toe right here. You guys can see it. And then I named the last one Meraki. I don't have a child named Meraki, but I just was in love with the name Meraki,
Oh,
and
it's
I love what it stands
beautiful.
for. So yeah, the Meraki is actually like it means in Greek like the intersection of science and beauty, and it just made perfect
Ooh.
sense to me. Like, yeah, that's what the whole brand is about, right? It's about the intersection of science and art in a very, very specific way. So when I actually started to design it, as a physician, like nobody would take me seriously in Italy. That's where we actually manufactured the shoes. They were like, why would we make a comfortable shoe? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, women wear heels and they know it's painful, so we're not going to
And
take
that's
on
part of the
your
thing.
your
Exactly.
project. And I was, yeah. And I
Like
was like,
women
no,
better be
please, just like, I have
uncomfortable.
this
Oh
great
my God.
idea. Yeah, like that's, I mean, even women say that. Women are like, why would we buy a comfortable here? Like, I'm gonna buy the Louboutins, like I know that I'm gonna have pain. So I just wanted to change that for women in the sense that I wanted them to be as anatomically as aligned as they can be in a heel so that they wouldn't damage their foot, right? So like that was the whole idea, and it took forever to build, forever to prototype because there's so many nuances, right? Like it's not a therapeutic shoe, it's an anatomically aligning shoe. So like there's just so much that goes into it, and we had to test it, and then we had to find a company in Italy who would finally take it. And when we were able to, we started to design it, and nobody knows this, but like designing a shoe from start to finish, the whole process is about 2 years, right? So it's like a 2 year time investment that where you are, in stealth mode, like nobody knows what you're doing. You're just making the shoe and designing the shoe and getting the parameters correct. So once we had that, we were able to get our final samples in October last year. And so we actually started to decide that we were going to launch in 2020. 2020 was going to be the year. And then
You're like,
2020
yes,
ended up becoming the year, but
2020.
not for what we were thinking about.
I think that was everybody's thought, right? It was like 2020.
Yeah.
This is going to be awesome. And then I'm just hoping July comes around and like the
Yes.
locusts don't hit. Like that's just where I am right now. Okay.
Oh my God.
I'm like, please,
I think
July.
we
Can
had
you
the
can we-
locust already happen.
Oh, good.
They're
Oh
here,
my
right?
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this year. I think it was earlier this year that the locust like flew
Okay,
through.
good.
It was crazy.
Did I
Like,
miss
oh my
that? Did
gosh.
I miss
So
that pandemic? No, but that's so great. So you were going back and forth to Italy during this time and managing your practice and trying to be a mom and a wife and all that stuff. Is that what I'm hearing during this whole 2 year process of you actually designing the shoe?
yeah. Yes. Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of work, guys. It was a lot of work. It was like a lot of sleepless nights, doing my clinical hours. I consult for a big HMO hospital out here. It's called Kaiser. I was consulting, I was managing my practice, seeing my patients, being on call, and then, trying to launch this startup. And, it was a lot of work. I mean, like a lot of days where I just felt like what am I doing, like why am I doing this, like is it worth it? And like my kids, like I'm trying to like just make sure that they are becoming model citizens, and their development is going okay, and they're eating nutritiously, and like their schoolwork is okay, like for a mom, like everything is a priority, right? Like everything is a priority. Your work is a priority, the house is a priority, your kids are, their clothing, their underwear, their shoe size, like every single thing. Like one day I told my husband, I was like, do you think like your, t-shirts and like the kids' underwears just miraculously get stocked? Like, where do you think they come from? Like, that's me.
They don't grow
That's
underwear,
me
guys.
hustling every day.
Well,
Yeah,
we
like
Hey,
I was
actually
like,
Najwa, we have a
who do
question.
you think manages all of this? Yes,
We have a question from the audience, and then we'll go back to what you just said. But somebody is asking if you can design some shoes for kids because her daughter has bunions. I didn't know we could get bunions in the pediatric population. I have mine from years of wearing bad, painful high heels all through my 20s and 30s. I didn't know kids could have them. So, can you talk about pediatric bunions
yeah,
and
it's a,
what you're going to do about them, Najwa?
sure. So pediatric bunions are true, and they do exist. And usually
Oh,
bunions in general are hereditary. They just can take time to manifest. And so most women will manifest them older, right? Because of the fact that, their foot develops in a certain way, and then shoe gear can aggravate bunions for sure. Pediatric bunions are slightly different. They will progress, and so it's really important to have those addressed. Shoe gear wise, I usually tell women in general that if your child is having bunions or they have a certain type of foot type that is going to lead to instability later on in their life, really good shoe gear and orthotics are super, super important. My son has been in an orthotic since he has been 3 years old because he has completely flat feet. And, the thing is that certain things like a bunion, they do have to be treated depending on how bad they are. They range in like mild, moderate, and severe. And so usually with mild bunions, we can really kind of delay their progression with good shoes and orthotic therapy. I would recommend for this wonderful audience member of ours, like if her daughter has it, it's really critical that she puts a orthotic inlay inside of all of her shoes. Make sure you stay away from like Vans and Converse. Those are really important. As far as heels are concerned, depending on how old this girl is, as she gets older, I would definitely advise like on really good orthotic built shoes, but that are fashionable for young ladies and kids. And I can add like a whole list of those if you guys want. And you guys can upload that onto your site if you'd like, what we usually
Absolutely.
recommend. But yeah, like, bunions in general, like, depending on how bad they are and what they do, it's like your vision, right? It's going to change. It's going to develop. It's going to be there. If you need glasses, you need glasses. There's nothing you can do about it. But like when you get older and it stabilizes, you can decide to have LASIX or not. And I tell women this, and I tell, kids who have juvenile bunions that, like if we need to fix them, we will as they get older. But prevention and, stabilization is key. Usually most kids will wear like Vans and Converse and like Nikes, and those are really bad for your feet. So like if you have your kids wearing those, make sure you add an orthotic inside of them for sure, because you'll help your children so much more than you even know.
I just learned something new.
Yeah, my kids actually have severs, and so we learned that from baseball cleats. So we put orthotics in every single pair of our shoes, and rolling our feet every single night in the back of your calves for if you have kids that are athletic really, really helps with foot pain, actually. So that's kind of like our nightly routine every single night here. Not so much these days as we're barefoot, but during our busy basketball season, that's usually what we have to do is roll the feet and put orthotics in.
That's all
So
good things.
Severs is a really interesting, Severs is something really important. And you moms, like I get this a lot, so like most kids are super, athletic. They're either doing soccer or basketball or something, like tag football or even gymnastics, where they're barefooted. But the thing is that Severs, for the people who don't know what it is, it's an inflammation of the growth plate in the heel, right? So our heel bone has an attachment of our Achilles and our plantar fascia, and the kids, their bones are growing much more rapidly, and their musculoskeletal structure is really tight. So, doing calf stretches, as you said, are so, so, so important, even for people who have bunions or juvenile bunions or even adult bunions. Like, actually stretching their calf muscle and their hamstrings is quintessential to decreasing the progression, because it's the tightening of these that causes the irritation and pain. Orthotics, they don't have to be big and bulky. There's a lot of orthotics out there, like Superfeet is one, Power Step is another that we recommend, that are over the counter, medical grade, that work really well for a lot of people. As you said, in your soccer cleats, like, adding in like a heel cup or like an orthotic inside of it can really help to protect your arch and also keep your bone from like shifting and moving and toggling, which causes the heel pain. So, kids, they will, a lot of times parents, like, they will just be like, oh no, it's nothing. Like, you just need to work through the pain, but they actually have pain. And these are great, great tips, like stretching, rolling an ice bottle, wearing good, more stable shoes like Asics, New Balance, Nike's. The only one that in the Nike's line that's a good one is the Pegasus Zoom line. And other than that, like I always tell my patients that, for sandals, like wear something that has an orthotic built into it, like a Birkenstock or like, a Birkenstock style, because we have to support our arches. You know, we have evolved differently with the advent of like foam in our shoes in the 1960s. It's changed the structure of our shoes. So even as children, the intrinsic muscles that we have don't develop. So what ends up happening is that we have this like inherent weakness to the ligamentous and bony structure of our foot. So wearing something that has like more support in it, it does better for you versus like in other parts of the world, right? Like you'll go and the kids from a very small age are
Or
completely
flat.
barefoot on hard
Yeah.
terrain. Their foot can handle, yes, their foot can handle a lot more. But in the Western world, it's not. Like kids have, you know, much more instability in their foot, and it's because of this foam development. Before that, think about it, our shoes were like made out of cork and wood, and those were much more
The
stable
jellies.
for us. But you
Yeah.
know, it's just
I
changed.
remember
Remember
the
the jellies?
The jellies.
They were terrible. We can't
That's
wear those
correct.
out here actually because they'll melt on the asphalt
Oh,
and kids will
I
get second-degree burns on their feet. So
know.
no
That's
jellies in Arizona.
Oh
terrible.
my
Oh,
gosh.
it's really bad. So
That's
I
right.
loved all the science and education, but I kind of want to talk about, like Zeba and I, we pretty much have given up on heels because they're only for special occasions, only when you're walking into the facility and out of the facility, but then otherwise you sit at the table and take them off under the
Oh,
table.
yes. That's what I
Right?
do.
But there is,
Yeah.
like your Instagram is artificially in heels. Like you live in heels. I don't think I've ever known your mom to not wear a heel. Like she's
Oh, I
like the
love
proper auntie that has the matching clothes with the matching heels every single time. And, heels are
Yes, yes.
empowering. They make you feel taller and beautiful. And for some reason, I feel stronger and more confident in heels. I
that.
don't know how Zeba feels about that, but I certainly do. And so we talk about how not just heels, but your path, your business building towards heels has been empowering for you?
So yeah, I mean, definitely that's such a great question. So, you know, any brand that you build, right? Like I know, you know, women who just have started to use their resources that they have, like, you know, say that they're good in, you know, decor, or they're good in something that's like they're really passionate about, like hair or makeup, and they've used those traits to build a brand. You know, brand building is very, very difficult. And a lot of times, you know, we don't have the resources or the network or the connection in order to really figure out like what is it that we need to build this brand. And, you know, coming from medicine, you know, medicine, you're research based. You just kind of research everything. So for me, it's like an integral part of my being that I just research and figure out, like, you know, where am I going to get my resources? How am I going to figure this out? And so, what I'd like to tell women in general, like, you know, if you are thinking about building a brand, or you want to build a brand, or you're in the beginning stages, do it, definitely, you know, like go for it. Don't ever feel like the risk of doing so is going to outweigh the benefits of it, right? Like, so what's going to happen at the end of the day? Either it'll succeed, or, and if it doesn't, you'll have a great story to tell. That's how I feel, right? Like, this is my personal journey. But I will have to tell you how to be strategic about it. So like there's a lot of things like in brand building that people need to know, like, you know, how to get a logo, right? Like, you know, what about like your marketing, how your social media, all of these things, these are like critical things. Like you can build a shoe, you can build a design, but like you have to know how to market it, right? Like, and for me, I'm not a business person. I have no idea how to do any like marketing or like financial planning. I didn't know what a runway was. I didn't know what a CAC was. I have no idea. I don't know what a KPI is. But you know, you can learn all of these things, and you don't have to. So a couple of things. You don't have to go to a master's program. I did think about that. You don't have to. There's a lot of resources out there for women. My husband was like, please, no more higher education degrees. Like I cannot like handle another MBA in here. Okay, no, we can't do it.
We're
There's only room
done.
for
So
one.
I mean, like, and then yes, exactly, and like mentorship. So let me
Yes.
advise this. Mentorship is so important. Like asking for help, as I said in the beginning of the story, and now, is that literally will help you and save you from so much grief. And you know, again, it's very hard to like go up to a VC and be like, you know, I have this idea and I need help, right? Because they'll be like, who are you? Why do we care? But that's actually not the
Could you
case. Like
clarify
I
what VC
cold
is? VC
called.
is
Yes.
venture capitalist,
Oh,
right?
yes,
Like
yes.
that's, yeah.
Yes,
to go over the
yes,
vernacular.
venture capitalists. Yes, so venture capitalists are people who will invest money in you or your brand, if they feel like they have something to get out of it. It's very hard to get VCs to help you, right, in the beginning, especially as a baby brand, because they are all based on numbers. VCs are very risk averse. It's kind of it's like a catch-22. You're like, why would a VC? Because don't they do this? Don't they invest in people? But they want to see numbers. And when you're a startup brand, you don't have it. But that doesn't mean that you can't ask them for advice, right? Like that's not that, if you have a CEO of a company, you cannot ask them for advice. So the thing is that I, in my own career, have had to find a network. And I don't come from HBS, right? Like I didn't go to Harvard Business School. I don't have a network of entrepreneurs. I don't have a network of CEOs. But I realized from listening to a whole bunch of podcasts, including How I Built This with Guy Raz, and just empowerment podcasts, that nobody knows what the heck they're doing. Literally nobody knows in the beginning. All these people who've made it, they had no clue what they were doing. And so it's okay to just cold call people and ask them questions. So I did that. I have basically cold called, emailed, I went on LinkedIn. I would send messages out over messages just to get advice. And once I would get a hold of somebody, I would just talk to them. I'd be like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm wanting to get information about. Is there anybody you can recommend to help me? Or can you be somebody that would be able to help? And you would be surprised that there's so many networks like the Female Founders Collective. If you don't know it, look it up. Create and cultivate. If you don't know it, look it up again. Hey Mama, these are all the Riveter, right? So these are all built-in networks where women are helping women and they're empowering them and they're giving them information. Like my digital marketing strategist, I actually found them from the Females Founder Collective. The VC firm that I actually have as my mentor, they are one of the biggest ones in the nation. They work on females, helping them, get to their dreams and funding them eventually once they have some metrics. And the way that I got to them was through Create and Cultivate. So my recommendation usually is that, and if you don't feel like you can reach them because you're nervous or scared, start small. Instagram, on Instagram, I get DMs all the time. Hey, I'm wanting to launch a brand. I'd really love a shout out. Can you help me? I'm always about that. I believe in paying it forward. And listen, if there's somebody that you contact and they're not willing to talk to you, they're not worth your time anyways. You're too special for them.
I love
Let them
it.
go
Yeah.
and move forward. Okay?
Yeah, that
Girl,
is
that
great
is
advice.
I mean, you have to empower
philosophy.
yourself.
You have to empower yourself, and to the extent that you can help other people, you've heard it here, you help other people. That's just that's always been Uzma in my motto. So the fact that you're living and pursuing it and doing it, that's just fabulous. But one of the questions I do know I want to get, because you and I chatted about this before we started talking, was the challenges that COVID has placed on you guys. Like, what are some of the strategic things that you've put in place to kind of counteract that? What advice could you give to a female entrepreneur that's wanting to start something right now?
Great. So that's really good. So let me tell you a little bit about COVID and EMAR. Okay. So before COVID, right, our whole strategy for EMAR is that to empower a woman so that she wouldn't have to have rescue flats in her shoes, right? Like if you truly wanted to wear a heel or you had any type of foot pathology, you would be able to have one shoe that would be able to really support you through the whole day and be anatomically correcting for you, right? So that was the idea. But the thing is that, that was our idea from the beginning. Yet with COVID, things changed, right? So now everybody's working from home, and there is this huge sense of what we had been doing to our environment. We were just running carelessly, right? We would have fast fashion. You would go into Nordstrom Rack and have a 40% sale on shoes and buy 10 of them. And then you would dispose of all of those shoes or your clothing. And so when COVID hit, I had to pause for 2 weeks. I had to really sit down because all of our marketing strategy had gone out the wayside, right? So I was okay, well, what is it that I need to do now? And I realized that, the whole idea of EMAR is that if you had to buy one pair of shoes, right, to take you and carry you, how good would they be for you, right? Like, would they be able to withstand time? Was there quality in them? So these ones, like we were advised not to make them in Italy because Italy is so expensive, and for a startup to invest that much money, they were like, don't do it, go to China. And it's not that Chinese products are not good, it's just that what we were specifically looking for could only come from Italy. And the reason why is that the quality and the design of the carbon fiber and the inlays, we wanted it to be able to withstand time, so that we didn't have fast fashion. We didn't want to do like bulk orders. We wanted to do handcrafted things so that each order was specifically made to reduce waste. So these were all things that, we had already been thinking about. But when COVID hit, it really kind of made us feel like, we need to do better as consumers, right? Like, not only the producers, but actually the consumers. Like, we have to stop this waste. So one of the things that we talked about at our factory is that we didn't want to have continuous waste of the leathers and the tanneries that were, giving us these leathers. Carbon fiber, we utilize this material. This is called carbon fiber, guys. It's an ultra thin, rigid device. But the reason why we used it, even though it's so expensive, is because it is so strong that it can last 10 years without cracking or having any issues in it. So these were like really important things for us as a brand, right? And then we decided that once women, like, we have been in comfortable clothing for the last 4 months, and we don't know how much longer it's going to be. But the idea is that when we do, leave the COVID period, you and I are never going to be uncomfortable again. I'm not going to put my foot in a shoe that causes my fifth toe to go, completely blistered and numb. I'm not going to want a shoe that, chafes the bottom of my ball of foot. I just am not going to want to do that anymore. And so because of these things, we wanted to make sure that when you do invest in an Emar heel, that it's something that you can use and wear for a long time without having to invest more money in other types of shoes. So that was the idea there, right? So that's how we decided that, okay, what was the asset in buying this brand? Now, for other women, right, who are starting other companies during a global pandemic, I would say that, it's not all about selling your product, right? You might feel like right now at Emar, we're like, okay, it's not all about selling the product. The idea is about what are we giving back, right? What is it that we're standing for? So like for a lot of female products, or businesses that are launching, we're asking them, right? Like, do you have any collaborative assets that you can use with other like brands and, utilize those so that you could cause brand awareness? So this is a wonderful time for you to really kind of think about your story and think about what is it that your brand is bringing to the market. And I would say that utilize all of this time, because we have time, to dedicate to brand awareness, collaboration, talking and mentorship, advising like what is it that you're going to see in the long term. And then hopefully, inshallah, when things start to open back up and things are better, people are still purchasing, people are still buying things. Just make sure that what they're buying has a reason and a story behind it that resonates with not only you but the consumer also. And I think that was just really important to me, to make sure that we are also giving something back as far as the brand is concerned. And for us, it's not only in our shoe gear, but it's also in our motto. We have like a percentage of our proceeds go to, a different charity every single month. So we've been, doing it with Feed America, and then Project Glimmer. And then, these are Project Glimmer helps underserved teenage youth, and women who are in distress. And with Feeding America, obviously, it's all the food banks, who have been really struggling to get people in New York and people in like LA who have been hard hit with COVID, and now obviously Texas, right? Like, being able to get those most at-risk families food. So those are some of the things that we've been really strategizing as far as a brand is concerned. Like, what do we want to be known at the end of the day?
I love that. And it sounds like it's an investment piece, right? So to your point, when we're done with this, am I ever going to want to be uncomfortable again? I love that you said that, because I don't think I want to, but I have seen some people going to their grocery stores fully dressed up wearing their heels. So I'm like, more power to them. I will definitely recommend them to get an EMAR heel because I love that you're giving back to the community. So can you let our listeners know right now where they can find you on Instagram, so that they can reach out to you and tag you? Because I know I will be purchasing a pair of some of these Aiden heels as soon as I get off the phone with you. Even if I'm just wearing them around the house for the next couple months, I'm definitely going to be doing that.
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet. Well, thank you so much for, like just listening to this story because it's a pretty unique one. But yeah, so you can find me if you have questions. I obviously would love to, help you out if you have questions on at officially in heels. That's my Instagram handle, and I actually respond back to every single DM that I get, so it's not some robot or somebody else. It's actually me. Yeah, so if you reach out to me, as I said, I've had so many people in the past reach out to me and ask me questions about just startups and like how to get information or even like medical questions. So I don't give medical advice, but I can just obviously guide you and help you if you have specific questions about what you're looking for. So, again, it's not medical advice. It's my opinion. Given that obviously it's over a platform that you're not in front of me, but if you have questions, I'd be more than happy to help with that. For EMAR Italy, it's actually at EMAR Italy, and that's the Instagram link that you can go to, or that's the handle. And then the website is also emaritaly.com. So it's EMARITALY.com. So you can check out our new collection. We actually have the Raya and the Meraki pump. Those are going to be going on pre-sale on July 1st. So we're super excited about those, and we'd love to get your feedback. Just let us know what you think about them, because that in itself is just a lot of help for us.
Yeah, I can't wait to get my Aidens. I know they're like being shipped right now. I like texted you yesterday or DM'd you yesterday, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you mean they're coming? Like they're not being held hostage anymore in customs? This is fabulous. Let's get them." Because I'm going to wear mine to the park. I don't know about anybody else,
Yes.
but I'm wearing mine to the park.
You're so cute.
Instead of
Our
stickers, since they're
shipment,
not.
so Italy was closed for 3 months. Yeah, like Italy was closed for 3 months, so we couldn't do anything. I mean, they were so hard hit with COVID. So our manufacturing company was closed for 3 months, and then finally, when they opened in the middle of May, they had to they were back order on like hundreds of shoes, and each one is handcrafted, so it takes time obviously from the artisans. And then when they finally got shipped, half of our shipment, that the first shipment that came in, they held it in customs for 10 days, you guys. 10 days. I was like, please God, like please help me, like I can't have any more of this. My kids were like, Mommy, why are your shoes held up? And so my kids are so funny because they just don't understand. And let me tell you guys, I have to tell you the story just really quickly. Like when you do all of this, right, as mothers, like we're so busy, we have so much going on that you sometimes are so frustrated and you just don't think anybody understands. But last year we took the kids to Italy to the manufacturing company, and when my kids got there, they were just so proud of me. My kids were like, Mommy, did you do this? And I was like, yeah. And they've been to my office 100 of times, like I've taken them to the hospital, to my clinical hours. They've never been impressed with.
It's a tangible versus an intangible, right? Like I think that's what it comes down to, and be proud of it, because my teenagers roll their eyes whenever something happens to us. They're like, "Oh my God, like you are so annoying," and I'm like, yoga breathing, everybody. No, they're good kids. But no, thank you so much for being on the show. We love talking to you, and I am very excited about getting my pair, ordering and getting my pair right now at EMAR Italy. And inshallah, we will look forward to your success and maybe have you on as for a follow-up, a post-COVID, to see how this is all going for you.
And we'll send you pictures of us in your shoes too. So inshallah, that'll be terrific. We're so proud of you and for doing all things outside of the box. Love it. Thanks everybody for joining us on another episode. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.